What if the person you trusted most was the one who ended your life?
Our evidence uncovered at the scene, our interviews with the friends of the couple, leads us to believe at this time that it was a murder-suicide.
These stories weren't accidents, they weren't crimes of passion. They were calculated acts, committed by the very people who claimed to love them.
Get an ambulance here. Conscious. Is he conscious, Robert? No!
Brace yourself for the chilling truth behind 10 celebrities murdered by family or lovers. How do you chase Hollywood's bright lights, only to have them snuffed out in a rented West LA bedroom? Born in Vancouver on February 28, 1960, she carried poetry in her purse and kindness in her eyes. A Dairy Queen counter became a launch pad. Playmate of the Month, August 1979. Playmate of the Year 1980. The first Canadian ever crowned by Playboy. Hollywood leaned in. She cracked jokes in Americathon, glided through Galaxina, and prepped for Peter Bogdanovich's They All Laughed. Her star rose. Her feet stayed bare on mansion carpets.
Dorothy Stratton, in many ways, was almost like a fantasy of what the Playboy reader or the Playboy fan would want.
Behind the flashbulbs lurked Paul Snider, husband, manager, jealous puppeteer. As Dorothy's orbit expanded, his shrank into paranoia. He bought a 12-gauge shotgun, changed the locks, and waited. On August 14, 1980, he asked to settle the finances. Friends begged her not to go. She went alone. Snyder raped, beat, and shot her in the face at point-blank range, then desecrated her body, wrote a note, and turned the gun on himself. Roommates opened the door hours later to carnage and stillness.
Our evidence uncovered at the scene, our interviews with the friends of the couple, leads us to believe at this time that it was a murder-suicide.
Dorothy never chased scandal. She wanted roles, words, love. In the end, the camera cut, not on set, but in the shadows, leaving a bright dream frozen forever, for all time, between frames. How do you master 1,000 voices, only to be silenced by the one closest to you? Phil Hartman was everyone and no one, the everyman with a wink. Born in Ontario, raised in California, he started as a graphic artist. Yes, those album covers for Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Poco. That was him. But it was comedy where he found his true canvas. In the improv trenches of the Groundlings, he became a shapeshifter, Pee-wee's wingman, the guy who could slip into any skin and make it sing. When Saturday Night Live needed stability and chaos, Phil delivered. For 8 seasons, he was Reagan, Clinton, Sinatra, Frankenstein's monster, even the unfrozen caveman lawyer. His gift wasn't just mimicry, it was presence. Calm, clever, quietly absurd, a rock in a sea of punchlines. Off-screen, he was reserved, a surfer, a dad, a guy who valued peace over fame.
When Phil Hartman was doing Bill Clinton, he was Bill Clinton. It just set him apart from the crowd.
But on May 28, 1998, that peace shattered. Bryn Hartman, his wife, was unraveling. Cocaine, alcohol, jealousy, rage. Just after 3 a.m., she entered the bedroom while Phil slept and fired 3 shots into his head and chest. Their children were in the house. Bryn fled to a friend, confessed, came back, and hours later ended her own life with the same gun.
The following is a film that Phil and I did together in our 3rd season. This is for you, Phil. We love you so much.
Phil was 49. He left behind a legacy of laughter wrapped in restraint. He never demanded the spotlight. He elevated it. And when his final scene came, it wasn't a sketch, a gag, or a voice. It was silent, abrupt, and unfathomable. He could have been anyone. And that was the tragedy. He just wanted to be himself. She had just finished filming Poltergeist. The cameras had stopped rolling, but her life was still in motion, rising, glowing, full of next steps. Dominique Dunne didn't storm into Hollywood. She glided, born into a family of writers, actors, and artists. She had that rare mix, the poise of someone raised around fame and the spark of someone destined to earn it herself. From Diary of a Teenage Hitchhiker to Chips and the Shadow Riders, she worked steadily. But it was Dana Freeling, the older sister haunted by the supernatural in Poltergeist, that made people remember her name. Off-screen, she was warm, funny, and artistic. But behind closed doors, with boyfriend John Thomas Sweeney, things grew dark. His jealousy, his violence. The red flags were there. She left him, changed the locks. He didn't care. On October 30th, 1982, he came to her West Hollywood home. They argued on the driveway. Neighbors heard screams. Sweeney strangled her, hands around her neck, for 4 to 6 minutes until her body went limp. She was rushed to Cedars-Sinai, placed on life support. She never woke up. She was 22.
And her last words to me were, she said, "I love you, Daddy."
Sweeney served less than 4 years. Voluntary manslaughter, they called it. But Dominique wasn't a statistic. She was a rising voice silenced too soon. Her organs saved lives. Her story sparked outrage. Her father became a crusading journalist. Her memory became a movement. She didn't grow old in front of the camera. But Dominique Dunne is still remembered, in every scene, every tribute, and every woman who now feels seen. She was in Vilnius to play Colette, writing, loving, rebelling, a woman breaking boundaries, a role that mirrored her soul. But the real tragedy wasn't scripted. Marie Trintignant was born into French cinema royalty, yet she never coasted on her surname. Daughter of Jean-Louis Trintignant and Nadine Marcon, she entered the screen at age 4 and grew into a fierce, intelligent presence. Whether it was Série Noire, Betty, or Comme elle respire, she brought depth to every woman she portrayed. Damaged, defiant, alive. 5 César nominations, dozens of films, theater, television. And just weeks before her death, she had wrapped work as Janis Joplin in Janis at John. But on July 26, 2003, in a hotel room in Lithuania, her real life was stolen. Bertrand Cantat, rock singer, lover, saw a message from her estranged husband. They argued. He struck her again and again, at least 19 blows to the head. Hours later, Marie was unconscious. Days later, she was gone. Cerebral edema, brain trauma. She died on August 1st at 41, a mother of 4, a national icon, a woman whose life became a cautionary tale. Cantat was convicted of murder with indirect intent, served just 4 years and walked free. France mourned. Protests followed. Her mother wept. The stage dimmed. And in the end, she became one more, unheard, interrupted, unfinished. It wasn't the drugs or the fame or the darkness in the industry that took Marvin Gaye. It was his father. Marvin was soul, gospel roots, velvet voice, heart cracked wide open. Born in Washington, D.C. on April 2, 1939, he sang in his father's church before becoming the voice of a generation. From Stubborn Kind of Fellow to I Heard It Through the Grapevine, he climbed Motown's ladder. But Marvin didn't want to just entertain. He wanted to say something.
And my blessings actually outweigh all of the negative things that have occurred in my life.
What's Going On changed everything. It wasn't just an album. It was a prayer, a protest, a plea. He gave us love anthems, Let's Get It On, bitter memoirs, Here My Dear, and healing in the form of sexual healing. But with the brilliance came the battles, addiction, divorce, money, paranoia. By 1984, Marvin had moved back home. worn down, depressed, trying to find peace under the same roof that was once filled with hymns.
He liked to remain peaceful in his room without any activity going on around him.
On April 1st, a fight exploded between Marvin and his father, an old, long-burning tension. Gay intervened in an argument between his parents. Words escalated. So did the violence. His father retrieved a gun, ironically, a gift from Marvin himself, and shot him twice in the chest. One day before his 45th birthday, he was pronounced dead at California Hospital. The man who gave him life had taken it. His father pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter, received probation, and walked free.
You know, his father shot him.
And you started crying at that.
Oh, absolutely. I could not believe that.
Marvin Gaye gave us his soul in every note. In return, the world gave him applause, pressure, and finally, silence. A voice that sang peace met its end in the place where peace should have lived. She had plans that morning, to call her mom, to meet with her legal mentors, to finish baking for a charity event. Instead, her life ended behind a locked bathroom door. Riva Steenkamp wasn't just a model. She was a law graduate with grit and grace, a woman who lit up runways but kept her heart grounded in justice. Born August 19, 1983 in Cape Town, she grew up with warmth, ambition, and deep empathy. Her smile adorned magazines, FHM, Avon, Toyota campaigns, but her mission was far bigger. She wanted to open a legal practice for abused women. She studied law, volunteered for domestic violence advocacy, and kept her feet firmly planted in compassion.
She had the biggest heart and she loved to give it to people. She always wanted to make sure that everybody, our motto this year was to always be happy and to never settle.
On Valentine's Day 2013, Riva spent the night at the home of her boyfriend, Olympic athlete Oscar Pistorius. That night, they argued. That night, he fired 4 rounds through a locked bathroom door. 3 bullets struck her, in the head, the hip, and the arm. She died within minutes.
On count 1, murder read with Section 51(1) of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 105 of 1997, the accused is found not guilty and is discharged. Instead, he is found guilty of culpable homicide.
Pistorius claimed he thought she was an intruder. He was convicted, appealed, then reconvicted, this time for murder. He served a total of 8.5 years in prison, in addition to 7 months of house arrest, before being released on parole on the 5th of January 2024. Riva never got to turn 30, never opened her law firm, never got to see her name become a symbol. Riva Steenkamp should be remembered not for how she died, but for how fiercely she lived. Driven, kind, brilliant, gone far too soon. She chased fame like it owed her something, and for a while it looked like it might pay up. Bonnie Lee Bakley was a puzzle of contradictions. Born in 1956 in Morristown, New Jersey, she was a small-town girl with big city ambition and a hustler's instinct. She tried acting school, but found more success in the margins, modeling, mail-order schemes, and a long trail of wealthy older men. She wasn't a Hollywood insider, but she kept getting closer. Elvis impersonators, rock stars, even Jerry Lee Lewis. Bonnie's life was a tabloid in motion. Then came Robert Blake. The former Beretta star, withdrawn and brooding, was hardly a Prince Charming, but Bonnie believed their union would finally legitimize her Hollywood dreams. They married after a DNA test confirmed he fathered her daughter, Rosie. But just months later, on May 4th, 2001, after a dinner at Vitello's in Studio City, Bonnie was found slumped in their parked car, shot once in the head. Blake claimed he went back into the restaurant to retrieve a gun and returned to find her murdered. The story was thin. the investigation was messy.
My name is Sean Stanek. Do you know who the actor Robert Blake is? Yes. He walked up here and he's screaming severely. I know him from the neighborhood here.
Okay.
Get an ambulance
Is
here.
her conscious?
Is she conscious, Robert? No. She's not conscious.
Breathing?
Is she breathing? Yeah, they're coming. They're coming.
Blake was arrested, charged with murder, and ultimately acquitted in 2005. A civil jury, however, found him liable for her wrongful death. Bonnie Lee Backley didn't die a star. She died as she lived, on the edge of fame, shadowed by scandal. But for all her flaws and schemes, she deserved better than a bullet in the dark. He was born into legacy, but died on the concrete steps of a Milan office, betrayed by the woman who once wore his name like a crown. Maurizio Gucci had the blood of fashion royalty. Grandson of Guccio Gucci, he inherited not just wealth, but the burden of a brand. After his father's death in 1983, Maurizio became the largest shareholder of the Gucci empire, and by the late 80s, its embattled ruler. He ousted his uncle Aldo in a bitter family war, then tried to turn Gucci from over-licensed mall luxury back into exclusive elegance. His vision was bold, but his execution extravagant. Lavish headquarters, unchecked spending, financial collapse. By 1993, the name Gucci no longer belonged to the family. What he still had, though, was the resentment of his ex-wife. On March 27, 1995, Maurizio arrived at his office in Milan. A man stepped forward and fired 4 shots, 3 to the back, 1 to the head. Maurizio fell instantly. The hitman was hired by Patrizia Reggiani, the socialite he'd divorced years earlier. She was furious over his new life, his new girlfriend, his quiet attempts to move on. Patrizia was convicted in 1998 and sentenced to 29 years. She served 18. Maurizio Gucci's life had all the drama of a fashion opera: dynasty, power, betrayal. But in the end, it wasn't business rivals or boardroom enemies that ended him. It was a woman once bound to him by vows, diamonds, and revenge. She was supposed to fly to Las Vegas the next morning. Instead, she was found folded into a suitcase, tossed into a dumpster. Jasmine Fiore was more than the glamorous parties and glitter. Born February 18, 1981 in Santa Cruz, she had California sunshine in her laugh and ambition in her veins. She worked as a swimsuit and promo model, often featured at Vegas casino events and in commercials. But Jasmine had bigger plans. She earned her real estate license and dreamed of opening her own gym. To friends, she was magnetic, focused, and alive. Then came Ryan Jenkins, a Canadian reality TV contestant with a charming smile and a darker side. They married impulsively in March 2009, just days after meeting. The red flags flew early: controlling behavior, jealousy, domestic violence charges. Jasmine tried to leave. She didn't get the chance. On August 15, 2009, her body was discovered mutilated and stuffed into a suitcase in a Buena Park dumpster. Her fingers and teeth had been removed to prevent identification. Only the serial number on her breast implants told authorities who she was. Jenkins fled to Canada, checked into a motel, and hanged himself a few days later. Jasmine's death wasn't just tragic. It was brutal, deliberate, and deeply public. A chilling reminder of how charm can mask violence, and how even the brightest spirits can be taken in silence. She danced with megastars, lit up TV screens, and choreographed moments seen by millions. But behind closed doors, no spotlight could save her. Stephanie Mosley was born on Valentine's Day, 1984, in Vancouver, fitting for someone so full of heart and rhythm. By age 2, she was already dancing, trained in ballet and performing arts. She earned her way into Disney's international showcases and eventually to Los Angeles, where dreams get made or broken.
None of the cast or crew of Hit the Floor wants Stephanie to be defined or remembered for yesterday. It's a hideous, awful thing, and we needed to focus on Stephanie and the amazing person that she is.
She backed Janet Jackson, toured with Britney Spears, shared sets with Rihanna and Usher. You could find her in Twilight, Catwoman, Hellcats, or Hit the Floor, where she brought fire to every step. She was rising fast. An actress, dancer, choreographer, friend, wife, a force in motion. On December 8, 2014, that motion stopped. Neighbors at her LA apartment complex heard screams and gunshots. When police entered, they found Stephanie, just 30, and her husband Earl Hayes, rapper, boxer, close friend of Floyd Mayweather, both dead. Hayes had shot her multiple times, then turned the gun on himself. Reports hinted at infidelity. The truth lay buried beneath years of control and jealousy. She danced with icons, but she never got the chance to take center stage for herself. They welcomed them into their homes, shared secrets, shared dreams, and in return, they were betrayed in the most unforgivable way. These weren't just celebrities, they were sons, daughters, partners, parents, and they died at the hands of the people who should have protected them most. Which of these stories broke you the most? Tell us in the comments. We're listening. If this video moved you, show your support with a like. Subscribe for more stories that reveal the darkness behind the fame. More shocking stories are coming soon.